The echo of starlight. Dr. Rosalind Hayes squinted through her telescope at the anomaly streaking across the New Mexico sky. As lead astronomer at the Sunridge Observatory, she had witnessed countless meteors, but this one moved differently, almost as if it were steering itself. The object's trajectory suddenly shifted, confirming her suspicions moments before it crashed into the desert 3 miles from the facility. She didn't hesitate. Grabbing her emergency kit and radioing her location to security, Rosalind jumped into her weathered Jeep and sped toward the impact site. The sun had just dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in deep purples and blues that reminded her of the abstract paintings that filled her small apartment. The crash site glowed with an ethereal blue light. As Rosalind approached, her instruments began registering impossible readings, energy signatures that defied known physics. Through the settling dust, she saw not a meteorite, but a crystalline vessel, its surface webbed with fractures. A sound like wind chimes filled her mind, and then she saw it, a being of translucent beauty, injured and trapped within the wreckage. Its form shifted like liquid starlight, neither fully solid nor completely ethereal. Without thinking about protocols or potential dangers, Rosalind rushed forward. The alien's eyes, if they could be called eyes, met hers. They were pools of swirling cosmos, and in them, Rosalind saw intelligence, pain, and fear. Using her kit's laser cutter, she carefully created an opening in the damaged crystal structure. The being flowed through the gap, its form stabilizing as it touched the desert sand. "I'm here to help," Rosalind said softly, though she wasn't sure if the creature could understand. To her surprise, patterns of light rippled across its surface, forming into recognizable symbols. Her translator device hummed to life, struggling to process the unique form of communication. Gratitude, danger, pursue. The translation came in fragments, but the urgency was clear. The alien was a refugee, pursued by something or someone. Without hesitation, Rosalind made a decision that would alter the course of human history. She helped the being into her Jeep, covering it with a thermal blanket to mask its bioluminescence. She drove not to the observatory, but to her private research station hidden in the desert cliffs, a place where she conducted her more unconventional studies. As they traveled, the alien's light patterns became more coherent, and the translator began to make sense of its language. "I am Nixus," it communicated, "of the Luminarii. Those who hunt me would prevent connection, understanding between species." The being's form flickered weakly, and Rosalind realized it was injured more severely than she had initially thought. In her research station, Rosalind worked through the night, using her knowledge of quantum physics and the alien's own guidance to create a stabilization field for its wounded energy form. As dawn approached, Nixus's light grew stronger, and their communication became clearer. "Your aid, unexpected," Nixus conveyed. "My kind believed humans too primitive for direct contact. I see now, we were wrong." The alien's form rippled with what Rosalind interpreted as amusement. "Your civilization's technological advancement is uneven, but your capacity for compassion, remarkable." Over the next few days, as Nixus recovered, Rosalind learned about the Luminarii, beings of pure energy and thought who had transcended physical form eons ago. They had watched humanity's development from afar, debating whether to make contact. But a faction among them feared human potential, seeing in our species a reflection of their own turbulent past. What began as a rescue became an exchange of knowledge. Nixus taught Rosalind about quantum consciousness and the interconnected nature of reality, while she shared insights about human culture, art, and the complexity of emotional existence. Their conversations challenged everything she thought she knew about consciousness and the nature of life itself. But their time was limited. As Nixus regained strength, the pursuit drew closer. Strange energy signatures appeared on Rosalind's instruments, and unexplainable phenomena began occurring around the research station. The night before Nixus planned to depart, Rosalind made an impulsive decision. She removed the opal pendant she always wore, a family heirloom that had been passed down through generations. Take this, she said, holding it out. My grandmother told me it fell from the stars. Perhaps it was meant for this moment. The pendant caught the starlight, its surface shimmering with colors that seemed to respond to Nixus's presence. As Nixus accepted the gift, the opal flared with unprecedented brilliance, its patterns merging with the alien's own luminescence. This stone, Nixus communicated, wonder evident in the patterns of light, it resonates with frequencies I've never encountered. Your grandmother, she may have been more right than she knew. Neither of them could have imagined then how this simple exchange would ripple across the cosmos, setting in motion events that would forever change the relationship between their species. As Nixus departed into the pre-dawn sky, the pendant now integrated into its energy form, Rosalind watched until the last trace of light faded among the stars, knowing somehow that this was not goodbye, but merely the beginning. Ripples through time. 3 years after Nixus's departure, Dr. Rosalind Hayes's life had transformed in ways she never expected. Her secret encounter with the luminary had left an indelible mark on her research, though she carefully disguised its true inspiration. Her papers on quantum consciousness and energy-matter interfaces drew both acclaim and skepticism from the scientific community. At night, alone in her desert research station, she documented the strange phenomena that had begun occurring since Nixus left. Her computers would occasionally display cascading light patterns reminiscent of luminary communication. Delicate crystal formations appeared spontaneously in her lab, their structures defying terrestrial geology. Most intriguingly, her dreams had become vivid with images of distant worlds and flowing rivers of light. Dr. Benjamin Ward, her colleague at Sunridge Observatory, noticed the changes in her. You've become obsessed with these quantum consciousness theories, Rose, he said one evening, finding her analyzing yet another inexplicable energy reading. The board is concerned. They're talking about pulling your funding. Rosalind barely heard him, her attention fixed on the monitors. The energy signatures she detected were growing stronger, more frequent. Something was changing in the fabric of reality around her facility. Ben, look at this pattern, she said, pointing to a recurring wave formation. It's not random. It's a message. That night, as she drove home through the desert, her car's electronics began behaving erratically. The radio cycled through frequencies on its own, producing harmonics that resonated with her memories of Nixus's voice. The sky above rippled with aurora-like lights, though they were thousands of miles from where such phenomena should occur. She pulled over, stepping out into the cool desert night. The stars seemed to pulse in rhythm with her heartbeat, and then she felt it, a familiar presence touching her consciousness. The air shimmered, and patterns of light began forming in the space before her, coalescing into recognizable symbols. The gift you gave me, Nixus's thoughts resonated directly in her mind, it has revealed something extraordinary. The alien's energy form materialized partially, still far away but able to project its presence across space. The opal pendant, it contains structures we've never seen before, patterns that bridge the gap between physical matter and pure energy. Rosalind's scientific mind raced with implications. The pendant's been in my family for generations. My grandmother always said it had special properties, but we thought she was just being fanciful. Your grandmother understood more than she knew, Nixus conveyed. We've discovered that certain humans throughout history have possessed an innate ability to perceive and interact with energy forms like ours. Your family line carries this trait strongly. The pendant served as a focus, a bridge between our forms of existence. The revelation staggered Rosalind. Is that why I've been experiencing these phenomena? These changes in my perception? Yes, Nixus confirmed. The pendant activated something dormant within you, within all humans who carry this potential. But there's more. The alien's form flickered with what Rosalind had learned to recognize as concern. My people are divided over this discovery. Some see it as an opportunity for unprecedented cooperation between our species. Others fear it threatens the purity of our transcendent state. As they spoke, Rosalind noticed more unusual phenomena manifesting around them. Small objects began to float, caught in localized gravity distortions. The air crackled with quantum possibilities, and for a moment, she could see multiple timelines overlapping, versions of herself who had made different choices, parallel realities bleeding through. The faction that pursued me, Nixus continued, they've discovered what the pendant revealed. They're coming, Rosalind. Not just for me, but for all humans who possess this potential. They believe it's too dangerous to allow our species to interact further. But we've done nothing to threaten them, Rosalind protested, even as she felt the truth of Nixus's warning in the shifting energies around them. It's not about threat, Nixus explained. It's about change. For millennia, my people have existed in a state of perfect but static transcendence. The discovery that humans could potentially achieve a state of existence that bridges both physical and energy forms, it challenges everything we believed about consciousness evolution. The projection began to fade, the connection weakening. I must go, Nixus communicated urgently. But know this, what began as a simple gift has become a catalyst for something greater. Keep watching the stars, Rosalind. The next phase is beginning. As Nixus's presence faded, Rosalind stood alone in the desert night, her mind reeling from the implications. The pendant she'd given away hadn't just been a token of friendship, it had been a key unlocking humanity's hidden potential. And now that potential had drawn the attention of forces beyond their world. She drove back to her research station with renewed purpose, knowing she needed to prepare. The phenomena she'd been documenting weren't just aftereffects of her encounter with Nixus, they were harbingers of a coming transformation. Humanity stood on the brink of an evolutionary leap, and somehow, her simple act of compassion had helped set it in motion. In her lab, the crystal formations pulsed with new intensity, and her instruments detected quantum fluctuations unlike anything she'd previously recorded. Something was changing in the very fabric of reality, and Rosalind knew she would be at the center of whatever came next. The ripples of her gift were about to become waves, and those waves would reshape the destiny of two species. Celestial Return. The night Nixus returned, every electronic device within a 100-mile radius of Sunridge Observatory went haywire. Satellite dishes rotated on their own, following an unseen signal. Computer screens flickered with streams of impossible data. In her research station, Rosalind watched as her instruments registered energy levels that should have melted their sensors. She felt the arrival before she saw it, a resonance that hummed through her bones and made the crystal formations in her lab sing with harmonic frequencies. The sky above the desert split open with light, not the harsh beam of a landing craft, but a cascade of luminescence that flowed like liquid starlight. This time, Nixus wasn't alone. Multiple energy forms descended from the rift, each one distinct in its patterns and intensity. As they touched the ground, they partially materialized into translucent forms that rippled between solid and ethereal states. At their center stood Nixus, more corporeal than Rosalind had ever seen them, and around their essence, the opal pendant glowed with an inner fire that pulsed in rhythm with the desert's heartbeat. Rosalind Hayes, Nixus spoke, their voice now audible yet still carrying undertones of that familiar crystalline resonance. The time of hiding is over. The pendant flared brighter, and Rosalind gasped as she saw how it had transformed. The opal had become something more, a nexus point where energy and matter danced together in perfect harmony. The other luminarii moved forward, their forms creating a circle around Rosalind and Nixus. One of them, whose light patterns suggested great age and authority, addressed her directly. We are the Council of Convergence. For eons, we have watched humanity's development from afar. But now, events force us to take a more direct role. Through her enhanced perception, Rosalind could sense the tensions among them. Some radiated curiosity and hope, while others pulsed with frequencies she interpreted as concern or outright hostility. The pendant at Nixus's core seemed to respond to these emotional currents, its light shifting and changing. Your gift, another council member communicated, has proven to be more significant than any of us anticipated. The opal's crystalline structure contains patterns we thought lost to time, templates for a state of existence that bridges the physical and the transcendent. Nixus moved closer to Rosalind, their energy field interacting with her in a way that felt both familiar and transformed. Show her, they urged the council. At their command, the air around them filled with holographic images, scenes from across the galaxy, countless worlds where other species had achieved technological advancement only to either remain trapped in physical form or transcend it entirely as the Luminarii had done. In all our observations, Nixus explained, we've never encountered a species capable of achieving both states simultaneously. Until now. The pendant pulsed, and Rosalind felt its resonance deep within her cells, awakening something that had always been there, dormant. But the revelation came with a warning. Another council member stepped forward, their light patterns sharp with urgency. A faction among our people sees this potential as a threat. They believe the merger of physical and energy states could destabilize the very fabric of consciousness itself. They are coming, with technology that could sever humanity's quantum potential forever. Rosalind thought of her grandmother's stories about the pendant, how she'd always claimed it sang to her in her dreams. How long do we have? Days, perhaps, Nixus answered. But we didn't come only to warn you. They raised their hand, and the pendant's light intensified. We came to help you unlock what has always been within you, within all humans who carry this potential. The council members began to move in complex patterns, their energy fields creating a matrix of light around Rosalind. She felt the pendant's resonance grow stronger, harmonizing with something deep in her DNA. Around them, the desert itself seemed to respond, crystal formations growing spontaneously from the sand, humming with frequencies that matched the Luminarii's presence. Your gift showed us that humanity is ready for the next step in conscious evolution, Nixus said. Not to abandon physical form as we did, but to transcend the boundaries between matter and energy, to become something entirely new. As if in response to these words, Rosalind felt a change beginning within her. Her perception expanded exponentially, she could see energy fields, quantum probabilities, the very threads of spacetime weaving reality together. The crystal formations around them began to pulse in sync with her heightened awareness. But even as this transformation began, their instruments detected the first signs of the opposing factions' approach. Dark ripples in the quantum field, spreading out like waves of anti-resonance, threatened to disrupt the delicate harmony they had established. Nixus touched the pendant, sending a surge of energy through it that connected with Rosalind's awakening consciousness. The gift you gave me in kindness, they said, has become the key to humanity's evolutionary destiny. Now we must use it to protect that destiny from those who would keep our species forever separate. The desert night filled with aurora-like lights as more Luminarii arrived, both allies and potential adversaries, drawn to this nexus point of transformation. Rosalind stood at the center of it all, feeling the weight of what her simple act of compassion had set in motion. The time had come to face the consequences of bridging two worlds, and to fight for humanity's right to achieve its full potential. Quantum resonance. The transformation began as a whisper in Rosalind's consciousness, a gentle ripple that quickly became a tidal wave of awareness. Through her newly awakened senses, she perceived layers of reality she had never known existed. The desert around her research station hummed with quantum possibilities, each grain of sand containing universes of potential. They're approaching, Nixus warned, the pendant at their core flaring with increased intensity. The nullifiers come to end what they see as contamination of pure consciousness. The opposing faction of Luminarii arrived like a storm of anti-light, their presence creating void-like distortions in the quantum field. Leading them was a being whose energy pattern spoke of ancient power and unwavering conviction. This ends now, it proclaimed, its thoughts resonating with cold certainty. The boundary between physical and transcendent must remain absolute. Dr. Benjamin Ward burst into the research station, his eyes wide with alarm. Rose, the observatory sensors are going crazy. The military's been notified. He stopped short, taking in the scene before him, his colleague standing amidst beings of light and shadow, her form beginning to shimmer with its own inner radiance. Ben, Rosalind called out, her voice carrying new harmonics that made the air itself vibrate. Remember all those theories about quantum consciousness we discussed? They weren't just theories. She turned to face the nullifiers, feeling Nixus's supportive presence beside her. And we're about to prove it. The pendant that Nixus wore had begun to change, its opal structure expanding into a complex crystalline network that spread through the surrounding space. Through it, Rosalind sensed other humans around the world awakening to their own quantum potential, artists, scientists, dreamers who had always felt something more in the fabric of reality. You cannot stop this evolution, Nixus declared to the nullifiers. Humanity has chosen its path, not through our interference, but through their own acts of connection and compassion. The leader of the nullifiers surged forward, its energy form distorting the very air. We have seen what happens when species try to bridge the gap. The chaos, the disruption of the natural order. We will not allow it. But as they moved to release their consciousness-dampening wave, something unexpected happened. The crystal formations that had grown throughout the desert began to resonate with a frequency that matched neither luminary energy nor physical matter, but something in between. Rosalind felt it singing in her blood, in the quantum dance of her atoms. The gift, she realized, her voice carrying both sound and light. It wasn't just the pendant. It was the recognition of what we could become. She reached out with her newly awakened senses, touching the quantum field that connected all things. Around her, the air filled with shimmering patterns of possibility. Ben stepped forward, his scientific mind struggling to process what he was witnessing. But as the quantum resonance spread, she saw understanding dawn in his eyes. He too began to perceive the deeper layers of reality, his consciousness expanding beyond purely physical limitations. The nullifiers attacked then, sending waves of anti-resonance that threatened to collapse the quantum potential of every human within range. But the crystal network created by the pendant had spread too far, had awakened too much. Humans across the globe were beginning to sense their connection to the quantum field, their consciousness naturally bridging the gap that the luminary had thought impossible to cross. Through her expanded awareness, Rosalind witnessed humanity's quantum awakening spreading like a dawn across the planet. Artists suddenly perceived new colors in the fabric of spacetime. Musicians heard the harmonies of quantum strings. Scientists found their consciousness extending into their experiments, understanding reality on levels they had never imagined possible. This is what we feared, the nullifier leader proclaimed, but there was a note of uncertainty in its resonance now. The chaos of unlimited potential. Not chaos, Rosalind corrected, standing firmly between the factions. Evolution. The natural progression of consciousness itself. She gestured to the crystal formations that now covered the desert landscape, each one humming with the perfect harmony of physical and quantum states combined. Look at the pattern it creates. There is order in this transformation, beauty in this integration. Nixus moved to her side, the pendant between them pulsing with the combined power of both their forms of consciousness. The gift you gave me, they said softly, it wasn't just a token of friendship. It was proof that humanity was ready for this step. Every act of genuine connection, every moment of true understanding between different forms of existence, has been preparing your species for this moment. The desert night had become a battlefield of light and shadow, quantum resonance against void-like anti-resonance. But with each passing moment, more humans awakened to their expanded potential, their consciousness naturally finding the balance that the luminary had thought impossible. Physical form and energy state, matter and consciousness, existing in perfect harmony. As the nullifier's power waned against the rising tide of human quantum awareness, Rosalind felt the truth of what they had achieved. Humanity wouldn't have to choose between physical existence and transcendence. They would forge a new path, one that honored both states of being. And it had all begun with a simple gift, given in kindness to a stranger from the stars. Convergence. Dawn broke over the New Mexico desert, but it was unlike any sunrise Earth had ever witnessed. The sky shimmered with quantum possibilities, layers of reality interweaving in a display that merged the physical and the transcendent. At the heart of it all, Rosalind Hayes stood with Nixis, their combined consciousness resonating through the crystalline network that now encircled the globe. The nullifiers had withdrawn, not in defeat but in awe of what they witnessed. Humanity wasn't just bridging the gap between physical and energy states, they were creating something entirely new. The pendant that had started it all now served as a focal point for this unprecedented evolution, its structure reflecting the perfect harmony of matter and consciousness. "We were wrong," the nullifier leader acknowledged, its form shifting from void-like darkness to a more neutral resonance. "We sought to prevent chaos, but what we see here is not chaos at all. It is the next step in conscious evolution, one we never imagined possible." Around the world, humans were awakening to their expanded potential in unique ways. Scientists found they could interact directly with quantum fields, artists could literally paint with light and probability, and healers could perceive and influence the energy patterns of life itself. But most importantly, they retained their physical form, their human emotions and connections growing stronger rather than diminishing. Dr. Benjamin Ward, who had watched his friend's transformation from skeptic to bridge between worlds, worked furiously at his instruments. "The quantum resonance patterns are stabilizing," he reported, his own consciousness now able to interpret data on both physical and energy levels. "It's like the universe itself is adjusting to accommodate this new state of being." Rosalind turned to Nixis, seeing them now with both her physical eyes and her quantum senses. The alien's form had also changed, finding a balance between pure energy and tangible presence. The pendant between them pulsed with the combined essence of both their species' potential. "Your grandmother knew," Nixis said softly. When she found the pendant, she sensed its true nature. It wasn't just a bridge between our species, it was a seed, waiting for the right moment, the right connection, to flourish. The Council of Convergence gathered around them, their forms now visible to all human eyes. "This is more than we hoped for," they proclaimed. "Not just cooperation between our species, but true evolution for both. The luminariae have been static in our transcendence for too long. Perhaps we too can learn to find a new balance." As if in response, the crystal formations that had spread across Earth began to sing with new frequencies. The network created by the pendant's awakening had become a living thing, a symbiotic system that connected all forms of consciousness while allowing each to maintain its unique identity. "Look," Ben called out, pointing to his monitors. "The quantum field modifications are spreading beyond Earth. The entire solar system is beginning to resonate with the new pattern." Rosalind felt it through her expanded awareness, the ripples of change spreading outward, touching other worlds, other species that had been waiting for this possibility. The gift she had given Nixis years ago had done more than bridge two individuals or even two species. It had unlocked the potential for a new kind of existence throughout the cosmos. The nullifiers, now fully converted from their former stance, joined with the Council of Convergence. Together, they began sharing their knowledge of pure energy states, while humans offered their understanding of physical existence and the power of emotional connections. The exchange flowed both ways, each species growing and evolving through the interaction. "What happens now?" Rosalind asked, though she could already sense the possibilities unfolding before them. Nixis touched the pendant, sending ripples of light through the crystalline network. "Now we explore this new frontier together. Physical and transcendent, matter and energy, emotion and pure thought, all in harmony. Your gift showed us that evolution doesn't have to mean leaving things behind. It can mean bringing everything forward into something greater." The desert around them bloomed with crystal flowers that existed in multiple states simultaneously, their beauty visible to both physical eyes and quantum perception. Human scientists and luminary consciousness experts worked side by side, documenting and nurturing this new form of existence. Artists from both species collaborated to create works that could be experienced across all levels of reality. From her vantage point of expanded awareness, Rosalind watched as humanity took its first steps into this new era. Some chose to remain primarily physical, while others explored deeper states of transcendence, but all remained connected through the quantum network that her gift had helped create. The pendant that had once been a simple family heirloom now served as a reminder that the greatest transformations often begin with the smallest acts of connection. As the sun rose higher, casting both physical light and quantum resonance across the transformed landscape, Rosalind felt a deep sense of completion. The alien she had saved years ago had indeed returned wearing her gift, but that gift had become something far greater than either of them had imagined. It had become the key to unlocking the next chapter in the story of consciousness itself. The crystal formations hummed with the harmony of infinite possibility, and in their resonance, both humanity and the luminary could hear the music of a universe discovering itself anew, one connection at a time.